What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, and 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And also, once a month, I host the only online show for dads and fathers in the world that is sponsored by Dove Men Care. And it's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And also, too, I'm the chair of the Global Food and Drink Initiative, a Black multimedia not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora. They are involved in food, wine, and travel. We're broadcasting live on March 13th. The clocks go forward in a few hours, so we're going to hold on to every last minute we have before we have to get up earlier in this lovely world. And always a good feeling before we go live or as the countdown goes on for Staggers State of Things with special guest Jill Jones. People are already jumping in. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So did I mention who we have? The ladies who know what's going on, know what time it is in the United States. So welcome back. Aisha and Jill, how are we?
Hi.
Nice to see you guys. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Sounds like both of you have had quite a week.
Whew.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was
Brutal.
trying. Brutal.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a week.
So how are the families?
My family's, good, knock on wood. But I think they've been dealing with me in this COVID fog.
So let me ask, because I'm going to ask a question. If I had a chance to speak to your husband, and Real Django, we see you. Thank you for being here. What's been more challenging for him dealing with the pandemic or him dealing with you this week?
This dealing with me this week was more challenging than entire COVID. I mean, I thought T-Mobile was going to be the cause of our divorce earlier today. I mean, I can't believe it. 5 hours in T-Mobile, and it just pulled us both to our tether.
Why 5 hours in T-Mobile?
Because I keep saying that these companies have not trained people, and they're having mergers, and they're conducting all this business, and it's just to get a phone change lines is like at one point I said to the girl, I feel like I'm trying to move some uranium or something. I was like,
I would say something,
crazy.
but I'm not going to go there because I know the way Jill's mind thinks. And I know that she could have said something else, but I'm not going to go there.
Right.
All I'm going to say is planet. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. And then Aisha, tell your week was even lovelier than mine.
I'm moving.
Oh.
I'm moving Monday.
That's always stressful.
So that's always stressful. And then I'm moving, I'm working, and I brought my daughter home. That's how stressful it is.
Oh, hold on. Did you just bring her home just to help her you move?
Yeah.
Okay. At least you're honest.
Stress. Yeah.
I told her to come home. Look, I told her to come home for the week.
Yeah.
Because I just
help me move.
I just can't.
Oh
like,
my goodness.
And how was your
all
week?
her classes are online. Yes.
Thank God.
How's Canada?
Yeah,
Look,
how's Canada?
How's your country?
Our country is okay. Like the weather's getting better and we're handling COVID okay. Like they're in
that
the
sounds
Ontario.
Terrible.
I know.
No one's complaining about stimulus checks.
Yeah.
We're getting.
Has your number come up for a shot yet? Has your age come up yet for a shot?
No, getting closer though.
Because he's so young.
Well, age ain't nothing but a number, but that's another conversation, right? But no, we're getting there in the province I live in. They're now offering to 60 to 65-year-olds, so it's getting there. So we're not doing too bad. And in Ontario, we have a 25% occupancy rate of retail stores was just opened up earlier this week, but restaurants and gyms are still closed.
Not probably smart. I mean, today I pulled my 60 card. I'm 60 years old standing in this store.
No, so Jill, we'll have an offline conversation. I don't believe you're that age, but my mother told me never talk about age and weight with a lady. So we'll have an offline conversation
Yeah,
about that.
I'm not exactly 60,
Just
but
not-
No,
I
no, no,
have-
no, 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 Jill, we're not going any farther. I told you.
Okay.
That's it.
No.
Thank you.
No, because when Jill gets to be 60, Jill's 10 years older than I am. So when Jill gets to be
Yeah.
60, that means I've turned 50.
I
So
know.
I didn't want to get into this conversation. Now we've slid. Gee,
mm-mm.
I know.
Django,
Sorry.
can you bail me out? Black Beauty, can you bail me out, please, 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 from this conversation.
God,
All right,
I know.
let's get to it. For those who have not been with us before, what these two outstanding ladies do when they're on the platform, and once in a while I'll jump into, is they give some takes on mainly political and sometimes social events, mostly in the United States and sometimes outside the United States. So Black Beauty is laughing. Oh, real Django saying Jill's my age. How do you know? She didn't tell you her age. Don't be rude. You're out of order. Stop your noise. All right, let's get to our first conversation piece tonight. And it has been a little while since we've been on, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the United States. But the most important thing right now is some people getting money in their accounts. Stimulus time.
Stimulus.
That's great. That's
So-
great.
Yeah,
So
it is
what-
really
amazing.
So question, do either or both of you two qualify?
I qualify.
Good.
I do.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
The 2020, I qualified, you know.
2021, Jill.
Yeah. Based on-
2021, Jill.
Yeah, but I think they're referencing 2020. I think anybody who was
Yeah.
in the arts that got hit or slammed and wasn't, was really hustling for their money, got slammed. Even in some, if you're trying to start anything, or hell yeah, it's like, yeah, give me my money.
Real
But-
Django. I got friends. Wink. I don't.
Yeah.
You see what happened when we brought up that conversation topic. Now it's just like we're gonna just try to recover from that all night long. But that's all right. It's okay. Let's get back to stimulus.
Yeah. And when you read the part about dependence now, the good thing about dependence is that before under Trump, the stimulus stopped your dependence at age 16 or 17, because my daughter did not qualify. And that now the dependents are any age, I
Right.
believe. And so
I think you're right.
I believe that this will help a lot of people. So if you have a dependent that's a college age student like myself, you're going to get that stimulus for them.
Yeah, a lot of kids, if you had your children on your health care, especially if you were going through the Affordable Care Act or whatever, they were not considered, and you were using, going to write them off or whatever. They weren't, but here's where the correlation never made sense, because the IRS has this one thing where your kids can qualify up to 26. However, you can't use your kids as a dependent after the age of 23 or 24. So already that was a nightmare. Just many people got shafted. Many young people got shafted, and so did their parents. Because that money, if somebody's a dependent on you, you're basically coming out of pocket to take care of something, and it should have been supplemented. And that's why Donald Trump was the worst president we ever had. He never thought ahead, and he didn't know how real people lived.
Oh, there's Chris, and Chris is the second time in a row you've been with us. Welcome. Saying, received the money via direct deposit, and on the anniversary of 1 year solid that I have been working from home.
Nice.
Yeah, they say that 85% of Americans should by Monday have received this money.
That's okay. So I have a question. Can get the money to the people fast. Why did it take so long for the politics?
It's the voting. It's our process. It's that the bill which was like 700 some odd pages, had all of these amendments attached to it. And people kept wanting to debate every aspect of the bill and attach all these amendments to it, particularly on the Republican side. There was the getting rid of the $15 minimum wage part, which I totally disagree with, because now they're about to debate a minimum wage where you have Republicans like Mitt Romney and others down here at $10 minimum wage. Well, guess what? A lot of Americans are already making $10 minimum wage and can't live on that. And then you have Joe Biden really pushing the $15 minimum wage, and others talking about $11 minimum wage. So they pulled that out. And then there were other things that Republicans wanted, like Lisa Murkowski fought for something to be included in the stimulus package, and then she votes no on it.
Exactly.
So those were some of the reasons why this took so long.
I think that it's kind of good that they're going to have those debates separately about the minimum wage, because I think now that the conversation is going to be isolated to minimum wage, that it's going to be very interesting to see how the Republicans wiggle out of that, because everyone's full attention is going to be on either the justification or the, slagging off like why anybody should have it. So it's not going to be like, well, but we need our stimulus money and whatever. So I think Joe is so smooth. I told you all about those Scorpios, man. They come in and they get you, and they'll sting you too. I think he played it very, very well. But I think it's good that it's going to become a topic. Bernie can dust himself off and really deal with it and go for it. And I think the populace those, as Aisha mentioned, who are making $10, or like in Texas, $7.25 minimum wage, you will get those people on board, and there will be so many stories that are going to come out about why it needs to go forward.
Yeah, and I think what's going to happen with that is that as long as it's a standalone bill, Joe Biden can get like 80 to 90% of bipartisan support through the American people. And if the Republicans don't vote for it, that's going to look really bad. And I think that he's going to push that out as close as he can toward the end of the year or the flip of 2022, because that gets to be toward an election year for a lot of these senators and House members. And if they vote no for a minimum wage that is very popular with 80% of the American people, that's bad for them.
And then we can all start singing "What Have You Done For Me Lately" to the Republicans. We're going to make that number one again.
But Janet Jackson's on a roll here, right?
Chris was saying exactly, Jill, and some people I work with, including single moms, were financially raped in 2020 due to working cut hours. And even though they collected unemployment with a $600 weekly add-on, they are being killed with the taxes they have to pay for the unemployment funds.
Exactly.
Good point.
Right, because if you take the unemployment, you don't pay the taxes right off the top. You have to pay those taxes come March.
Right, but I also found it really short-sighted of the IRS and also that no one's really broached the subject. I really suggest that people start pushing to their local representatives. I think that people should be able to take the tax write-offs that came with having to work remotely, because we have a law here that it has to be a specific room. No one can go into it. What about those people who work in studio apartments? I mean, and also had to do upgrades on their Wi-Fi services to make it faster, to be able to handle the load that they were handling in their homes. So for me, that is something that people are overlooking and not paying attention to. It needs to be a write-off, and the IRS needs to ease up and back off of that, restrictive thing of like, it has to be a room where nobody can enter and you can't use it for
Yeah.
anything else. Well, I heard people during the middle of the pandemic with their kids in the background answering telephones. And this is just, I'm sorry, the fact that little old me has to be the one to remind everybody makes me crazy. It shows me how out of touch our representatives are, that they're not really paying attention, because that needs to be addressed. People should have that right to write that work that they did off because of the pandemic, period. And some of the car insurance as well. These were things that affected us all, and they need to, people whose mileage, all of these things that changed. There was so much, and we need like a czar or somebody really quickly to address those things and update it with the IRS.
Yeah. And moving forward, because what happened is that a lot of businesses saw that it was more profitable after COVID to keep people home. So they shut down their freestanding business offices and moved to a remote model permanently.
Right.
So people are working home. It's more convenient, but the business is still taking the tax break, not the people who are now in a permanent work from home situation.
Great point, because there were a few corporations that had the audacity to send out this notification that they were trying to raise some of their payroll taxes for some of these transactions that were going through. They had the audacity, a few corporations came in, tried to circumvent that. And I don't know enough about all the details of that, but I do vaguely remember that I was like, yo, what up? What, are you kidding me? Like, I'm working from home and you're going to tax me more now on my payroll tax, and I'm sitting my ass at home doing your work? Screw off.
Chris is saying, yes, that should be a total write-off. I had to make a lot of, quote, equipment adjustments, unquote, to work from home, and it did not help on the techno challenge side. Jeez.
Exactly. So send that, get that, talk about it, make it become a topic, Chris, because it is something that everybody, really needs to be up in arms about. It's not fair. And, there's no reason we should get screwed again.
And Chris is where I am. Connecticut did a lot of that with a lot of industries. A lot of industries.
So let me ask, I'm going to compare the Republican tax break compared to the stimulus plan, and we won't be able to judge for a while yet, but what's the word I'm looking for? How many more Americans are going to benefit, in your opinion, when we look a year from now, this stimulus plan or the Republican tax cut of a few years ago?
The stimulus plan. And the reason why is it's going to be twofold, because not only will Americans benefit from it, but the American economy is going to benefit from it, because people aren't going to take those stimulus checks and hold on to it and put it in the stock market and make it grow for them. These people are going to take this money and spend it. People are going to take this money and use it for things that they need. So you're going to see this money is going to be poured into grocery stores. It's going to be poured into the payment of rent. It's going to be poured into things that people actually need. That money goes back into the economy. But also, too, you're talking about people being able to have better access to COVID vaccinations. You're talking about people being, bringing down child poverty. They're saying by like half. They're talking about kids being able to go back to school and teachers being able to go back to school without the fear of dying. We've had a lot of teachers die from COVID that they've caught from the children that they teach.
True.
You're talking about local governments being able to pay their civil servants, okay, and being able to maintain their government as it is supposed to be maintained. So you're talking about paying their police officers, keeping their local parks and recreations open, paying their firefighters, and all of those kinds of things, paying their teachers what they're worth. Because a lot of teachers, like at least in my region, have contracts that are negotiated by teachers' unions, and they're going to have to negotiate those contracts soon. So you're talking about being able to just keep the normal order of things going and going the way that they should be going, not skimping on things, keeping Americans healthy. And these are the things that Donald Trump's COVID bill did not do. He put money into things like airlines, and airlines will be getting some money, but they won't be getting as much money as they are going to go to things like taking care of Black farmers, taking care of some of these other businesses, these small businesses. Like, for example, one of the changes that they made compared to what Trump's stimulus did is that they're going to make sure that the PPP payments are going to small businesses, not these big
Mm-hmm.
corporations who were getting these PPP loans. Now, when it came to the Trump tax cuts, those tax cuts were going to these big corporations, these multimillionaires, not the small people who thought they were getting them, because the small people who got their little tax cut break ended up having to pay for their tax cut when it came tax time. They didn't get their little refund check because they had to pay for the tax break that they got so in their paycheck. So the people that did get, the multimillionaires who did get their tax breaks, what did they do? They hoarded their money, they saved their money, or they put it into the stock market to make more money for
Right.
themselves. It didn't help the economy any. It didn't help the American people any. So that's the difference between the two.
We're still gonna, it wouldn't surprise me, we will probably still see a little bit of corruption in that, because as we speak and breathe right now, there's folks getting a LLC somewhere, and because someone like a Kanye West, who obviously claims billionaire status, went and got his only because of his nepotism and who he knew. But he'll claim for it again, those kind of people, because when you put it up against, there's something that is lacking in how they're vetting, and I get that it's very difficult to vet everybody and what they do with this money. Hopefully, we learn from this and there's some kind of follow-up in the future, because what people are doing, there's always somebody out there trying to figure out hook or crook how to do it. But I really hope that this administration is trying to capture and service as many of those small businesses in need as possible.
Rio Django says, I'm doing what I did with the last 2 stimulus checks, and that's invest in my own 401k and sending some to the Democrats.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That is great.
One of the things I'm hearing, and thanks again for the engagement live, fantastic folks, and because it's a Saturday night, and a lot of times Saturday night people just had it, but we've got 2 superstars here, so no surprise. One of the parts of this stimulus I'm hearing is an after effect of wanting to eliminate or reduce child poverty.
Yeah.
We have a lot of child poverty.
Yes, and it'll be very interesting to see, and you both discuss how there's going to be separate conversations about things like minimum wage, child poverty. It's going to be very interesting to see how those conversations go, and if they go anywhere.
I think, if we get past the point, the other day I was listening to something on NPR, and there were a few people from the Board of Education, as well as some mothers, upset because their 3 and 7-year-olds and 10-year-olds were, manning the house when they were going out to work, both parents, and their urgency to get the kids back in school. And then one of the Board of Education guys stood up, and he was just like, they're doing the best that they can. Most of our pushback has come from the people who have been fed throughout this whole pandemic, who haven't felt a dent in it, other than their poor kid, their poor 13-year-old who had to get up earlier and make sure the kids sat in front of their computers and did what they had to do. And this one woman was trying to say, I want my kids to go get fresh air. Well, you can hire people for that, since you seem to be able to do, take care of yourself through this pandemic. I find that the selfishness angle, I think that with Joe Biden, what's actually happened is he's voicing a new kind of connectivity and relationship of like, hey, this person is your fellow citizen, your fellow brother, your fellow, there's something that has come in, and it's just just that kind of attitude is really frowned upon at the moment. You start to see the selfishness and it's becoming less, the balls are starting to fall off on it, because you're starting to go, wait a minute, there are so many children in poverty that, the schools, even though the kids were not in school, these schools were making sure so many of them were getting fed because they weren't getting fed at home. So when you put that up against everything else, there has to be a little bit of tolerance and compassion. And we all went through this. And that's kind of astounding. I think with Joe coming on board, there's a little bit of humanity that's making us all like go, okay, I understand. And it's not just all about me. Trump really created this toxicity that permeated everywhere, and it only fostered this narcissism in everybody to forget that we are our brother's keeper.
Yeah. Well, I think Americans need to learn the difference between disproportionate and raw numbers.
Yeah.
And here's a big old fact for people. Raw numbers, real talk. When you get to understanding that the majority of these poor kids who aren't eating, these poor kids living in poverty are white kids, you'll see a whole lot of damn sensitivity. That's the bottom line. As long as white people have in their heads that the poor kids living in, or the kids living in poverty are black and brown, that's why you see no care, no desire to help. Black and brown kids are disproportionately living in poverty. That means that compared to how many of us there are in the country, more of our numbers are in here. But the raw numbers, there are more white people living in poverty in this country than there are of any other race.
And the shocker is, you're right, because the shocker is that there was something called latchkey kids when I was growing up.
Yes,
and we still, and to some degree, the fact that you have these mothers who are now saying, my 13-year-old is doing X, Y, and Z. Hey, talk to, this should be a moment for people to go, hey, I grew up like that. I had to get up. My mom was leaving house at 4:00 in the morning to go clean windows or whatever she was doing, clean offices. And I had the responsibility to get my brothers and sisters off on the subway or walking. This is a time for people not to just be me, but to sit and go, if you're bothered by the fact that your child has to do this, then think about the ones who've always been doing this and think about how you feel now and go, no one should have to do that. Nobody's child should be living in that type of poverty situation, not in America.
Right.
And hopefully not in the world.
And get this, latchkey kids, that a lot of those were my generation.
Yeah.
Weren't always poor. Their parents just worked. That's the thing. We assign assumptions to people based on circumstances that we see without knowing the real deal. People will look at a white kid and assume that kid is being fed, assume that kid doesn't have parents on drugs, and assume that kid is okay. When that kid might have both parents on drugs, no food to eat at home, and is okay. Never thinking that child goes to its that child goes to their black friend's house on weekends, and that's the only time that they're getting fed. I've known children like that.
Wow.
I mean, the beauty for me,
we've been this house.
It's true, but I think the beauty, like I mentioned about the Biden administration, as soon his relationship is really not with the media. It's actually with the people. And I think that what we witnessed during with West Virginia and their video saying we want the stimulus and we also want a wage increase, I think that was something that everybody, Democrats and Republicans, need to pay attention. Joe Biden does not have to answer to anything that the media has going on, or really the Republicans. His whole point is to figure out the best maneuver, how to make people happy, have a happier lives, and have a better quality of life. I think, is that such a horrible thing? Whether you like him or not, that's what it is, because Trump certainly did not give anyone a better quality of life. I know from my taxes from last year, it was brutal. It was like I was dragon slaying to try to get out of. It was bad, and when the realization finally hits, I'm not a billionaire. But I paid for things for services and things that now I see won't go anywhere right. They didn't go to the veterans. It didn't go to children. So I'm happy about this situation.
I'm going to wind it down on this conversation topic. It's certainly going to be one we're going to revisit in regards to, I think we need to have a future conversation about poverty in America.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we won't bring it in, but we got to talk about next time about the filibuster, the whole issue behind the filibuster. That's a whole conversation itself. Just before we move on to our next conversation, the engagement is out of control tonight. And I think there's a love-in happening between Birdie Lynn, Real Dango, and Black Beauty. They seem like they got something going on. So I don't know. I don't want to be a cause of that. But Real Django going, the priority of this country has been keeping 100% of all children safe, educated, and correctly and fed.
Right.
Chris saying, so right, ladies, as long as white kids are okay, no problem. It is disgraceful. We are our brother's keeper. This should not be going on in one of the richest nations on the planet. And yeah, I was a latchkey kid too. Both my parents worked. My parents did what they had to do, and I'm grateful to this day.
Yeah. We all have parents who worked.
You're on a good topic on that. But let's go to probably one of the most embattled politicians in America right now. Andrew Cuomo says he won't resign despite calls from the state. Ladies, this is a really, I think, not only New York wise, but I think Democratic Party wise.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very interesting situation. Who wants to open up on this one?
I will. I kind of agree with him. And the reason I do is because we don't want an Al Franken situation. And I say that because Democrats are like, Al Franken, resign. Al Franken did resign. And then here we are. Those charges end up being false, right?
Yes.
And Al Franken is here now. He's a trusted resource about Democratic politics. And he's back in the news, and people talk to him and look forward to him. But Al Franken did the right thing. I think as Democrats, because Republicans behave so badly, we're very quick to want to police our party and be the moral harbinger of everything. And just like, oh yeah, well, we don't tolerate that from our politicians, so our politicians will resign before this and that. Here's the thing for me. For me, it's this. Remember last summer when he was so popular and everyone was calling him the Love Gov?
Mm-hmm.
And all of this, and the book was coming out and they were doing his briefings every week. Where was all this stuff?
Right.
Why didn't you take him down on this last summer?
Are you saying there's a little funny business going on here?
I'm saying there's a reason for this now, that we've got to find out what that reason is, because this comes out of the blue.
Right.
This is like, what's the reason for this? Because honestly, I didn't think that he was going to run again for governor. I think that he was done anyway. But this just, every day there's somebody different. And then one of the women retracts her story. And it just doesn't sound right. And I looked at that picture over and over again. And the picture that to everybody else looks creepy, of him holding her face in his hands. To me, that looks and maybe that's a generational thing, but to me, that looks like a grandfather holding, the face the hands,
Yep.
like look at me, like I'm telling you something, or of care. That to me is a thing of care, because
Mhm.
my grandfather would do that to me. You know what I mean?
Right. Mhm.
And people are like, she looks scared. I'm like, she looks
I
like
didn't think
she's.
she looked scared, and I
I
don't
thought
think
she
it's
looked
it's
I thought
appropriate.
she looked.
So the
I thought
comments
she
are
I
looked
would
coming in
have
here.
to
upset.
see. I would have to see frame, 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 frame. I don't. I would not judge a picture like that.
I
I can't.
I
I
want
think
to
it's
know why.
foolish.
Yeah, I want to know why her friend was taking a picture of them with her camera. That sounds to me
Mhm.
like a setup. I
So
just,
Right.
I want to let's catch up before I let Jill come in on this.
yeah,
Black Beauty is saying innocent till proven guilty. Real Django. Andy, quote, feeling up the ladies, unquote, Cuomo should be careful because there's probably a video of him feeling up somebody soon. Black Beauty saying, remember Cuomo sexual on Twitter. Uh, Again, he says, Jill said the reason last time, quote, Trump needs a pardon, unquote.
But
that's what I'm thinking.
more than that, if you look at what's happening with Newsom and other governors from all blue states,
They're
see,
trying to take it out.
I believe that Republicans have determined if we can't control the presidency, we'll control the states. So
Yeah,
for me, I'm not interested. Let me put it to you this way. With the same fervor that all these people have had for these white women who suddenly came up about Governor Cuomo, seriously, as Aisha said, why didn't they do it sooner, even when he was in his glory day, right? In the height of COVID, all of a sudden, with the same fervor and intensity that everybody is feeding on this, like a freaking trout farm. Um, I When they start showing that to for Sandra Bland, for Breonna Taylor, then you'll get my attention. At this point, I really don't give a damn about these women and their claims, because all it does is reinforce that when a white woman gets touched, we're not even saying she was raped or murdered. We're saying they're touched or spoken to the wrong way. Give me a break. I mean, honestly, not to, let me get rid of my female chip here. This Me Too has been weaponized, and it was a black woman's, by the way. And here we go, another way that they have taken a movement that was really dealing with serious issues for people of color, and white people have taken it and weaponized it, and it doesn't over anything. Oh my God, I think he wants to sleep with me. Oh, give me a break.
yeah,
I do not have a bone in my body that gives a damn until they address women, black women who have been murdered by cops. Because in this media day, it's like, well, on to the next thing. Let's take Governor Cuomo down. I won't go down that road, because Miss Mamie, this plantation, let's service the plantation ladies. Screw off. Get a life. Oh, he said this to me. Meanwhile, stayed there at a job collecting a check when they can go and get hired in a lickety split. Let's be really clear, too. A few of them were hired during the process while Trump was in office. A few of them came on board in 2019. Come on. And had never worked anywhere before. Men look at women. Let's just go to 101 sexuality. Men look at women. If we want to gouge their eyes out, fine. But ladies, you gotta tighten up, because like I said before, what are you going to do? It's being weaponized. And this is not even the way that you properly assert an alleged claim. And the fact that Letitia James is going through with it, I know she has to, because they'll drag her for not doing it. But to have a black woman to be the one trying to service these women when our black women never got one bit of service, not one, it makes me so mad. And that stupid old Chuck Schumer, I honestly have tried to give that man respect, but he doesn't have a spine. I have more gristle, when I'm eating like a piece of meat. I can't handle it, because and Gillibrand, she's the reason that Franco got knocked out. I don't
yeah.
need those people. They're white again. So they're telling me that they still haven't gotten justice for Breonna Taylor. so they can go sit down. Sandra Bland, no, never, none of them. Who else? We have a long list of Black African American women who, and men, but since we're all on this poor women, oh my God, what about not just Me Too? And maybe more women, Black women, should come forward and talk about the discrimination we experience from white women in the jobs. What do we call that? Me Too, or you did it to me? Hashtag you did it to me.
Gonna cut you out, but again, this is, I think, another conversation topic we're gonna need to chat about, because especially last month being Black History Month, I was privy to a lot of conversations.
They don't promote. They don't.
Of Black women in the workplace. I've stories like, and this is almost a year after this diversity thing. But
so I'm not taking up their little drumbeat. I won't, because
I agree.
No, I won't. And I don't think he should resign.
Let me just catch up with comments here. Bertie Lynn says, I agree. She says also, media can really warp things. Chris is saying, in situations like this, all women need to be heard and taken seriously and have their claims investigated. That said, I also remember of the Bill Cosby mess and what Janice Dickinson did. She admitted she lied. Bertie Lynn, yes, they're trying to take over the states, getting back to the Republicans trying to get control of the states. Bertie Lynn says another hijacking, according to this story. Excuse me. And Real Django, it's true. Whiny white ladies guessing that a guy wants to hump them. Chill. Men are trying to adapt to the Me Too movement. We're not perfect, but we're trying. And Real Django goes, yes, Jill throwing daggers.
Yeah, but if they started treating you like a robot in the office, then they'd be in HR complaining about, he's just mean and he's this and that. I mean, back on the Bill Cosby thing. When I was growing up, if you're in Hollywood, even as a young girl, because Bill used to come around to some of my family's events, you kind of like get a tip, about things. Not that he was this or that, but you just know people. He was a big, I do question the women and how that whole thing went down as well, personally. He drugged them. But like I said, we have never had these conversations. We don't know what always happened on the other side, which is why, yes, there are people that with what's his face, the fat guy, Harvey Weinstein, same thing. I also have heard of a few women who just jumped in on the case because they wanted to get paid. So I heard that story. So that just shows you. So I'm not defending every woman. I'm not putting down every woman who has an allegation. But I will tell you, how hungry was Janice Dickinson to do that? She should have gone to jail for that. She really should have gone to jail. Okay. Drug addict Janice Dickinson. She should have gone to jail. You do not accuse people and also be blatantly lying. That wasn't cool because the time had already passed. The public had already made their decision by that point, as if.
Aisha, come on in on this. What do you think with Mr. Cuomo's situation?
Like I said in the beginning, I think that it just doesn't smell right to me. It's like, for example, when they started calling people homosexuals last year, that was a perfect time to jump in and be like, tear him down. Now, like Jill said, they are going after governors. Like the whole Gavin Newsom thing this morning, I'm listening to the news and I'm like, wait, they got the governors of the two most popular Democratic states, okay? And they're going after Newsom and Cuomo, right? New York and California, the states that people on the Republican side worry most about. Well, guess what? There is somebody trying to run, a Republican trying to run in New York. He's now in Congress, right? He wants to be governor of New York, and he knows he's got a long shot because New Yorkers don't like a Republican governor. The last one was Pataki. That was 30 years ago.
Right. That
And
was a long
so,
time ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
they know that's not going to happen. And with California, the same thing. They haven't gone after the other governor they're trying to go after is Michigan in is
With
Whitmer. So you
Oh,
yeah.
think about it, they're going
the lady,
after,
the lady who had attempted
yes,
kidnapping,
yes, they're
Yeah.
going after the strong.
and the former president said, "So what?"
Exactly. They're going
Right.
after the Democratic strongholds. So you're looking at New York, California, Michigan.
Michigan.
You're gonna look at all these places, and it's right. If they can't control the presidency, they're gonna try and control the states. So they're gonna try and go after the blue states the way that Democrats went after some of these red states that they flipped. And
Hmm.
this is their way of revenge. This is their revenge.
It
You
is.
came for our states, we're going for yours.
Right.
Okay.
In other words, staying in your lane.
And I'm
Okay.
cool with Newsom. And like I said, I want to find a petition where we outdo the 2 million signatures to do the recall. Because if my behind has to get out there and vote again this year in November, let me tell you something, they're going to get a real wake up call. And they better keep an eye on Texas, because a lot of that is going to go blue too. You watch.
All right. Chris
Yeah.
is saying, I guess Janice Dickinson should be in jail. Hashtag train wreck.
Totally.
Segovia Django, which I think is probably him on both platforms. I don't know. High five for Chris.
Oh,
And
Texas is going to go blue. Beto is going to run and go blue.
Yeah.
Real
He is.
Django says, I didn't like that guy Pataki, even though I was a Republican in New York at that time. Interesting. Interesting. All right. Well, you know what? It's going to be that story keeps on growing legs. So we'll see. But yeah, Aisha, you were reading my alleged mind. I'm beginning to hear reports that one of the reasons they're going after New York is they want to deflect charges against 45 in New York.
Yeah.
They want to see
Yeah.
so that could be part of the game also in regards to that. So we will move on to another story that's happened in the last few weeks. Oh, and this is another interesting one. Meghan Markle said media coverage drove her to consider suicide, but that hasn't stopped the British tabloids. So let's cycle back. Did either of you watch the interview with Meghan, Harry, and
No,
Oprah?
I
I saw
watched
bits
parts.
and pieces.
Yeah, I saw bits
Yeah.
and pieces. It was on. I was not feeling well. I had a migraine, so I was kind of in and out, falling asleep. But it was on.
Thoughts?
Um. Well, the Royals are trash. That was my
Yeah.
biggest takeaway from it. The Royals are trash, and uh the part that she said the tabloids almost drove her to suicide. Well, here's the thing. The tabloids, I get why Harry was like, enough is enough, because the tabloids, the paparazzi chasing his mother around is why she's not here.
Mm,
So the
sure.
tabloids saying the tabloids almost drove her to commit suicide was like, enough is enough. But on one hand, I've never had the tabloids write about me like that. I've had a bunch of them the last week take a tweet that I wrote and include it in a story about
Well,
Andrew Cuomo. Um,
okay.
but not about not anything like this. So I don't know that experience, but I would expect that having things written about you that weren't true, and making you be the black sheep, and I don't mean that figuratively. I mean that figuratively, not literally, but making you the black sheep of the royal family, um things that weren't true, like, for example, writing that you made uh Princess Kate cry, when it was the other way around. Kate made you cry because of some nonsense over a Flower Girl dress. um and it blowing up, and Kate never saying anything and playing the innocent white woman victim. and you being this nasty Black woman, where the truth was that Kate, you know, did her mess because she wanted her daughter to have a certain flower girl dress at your wedding, when you're dealing with wedding stuff and the tabloids and trying to deal with whether or not your father was going to come to the wedding was pretty nasty. So I guess I can see her not wanting to deal with all of that stuff. As far as being suicidal, you know, everybody has their own reaction to things. Um, you know, she's probably more fragile emotionally than you know, than some people are. But that, you know, that just was, you know, her reaction to it. So, I mean, I can't say that my reaction would be different because I've never experienced anything like that.
Mm.
But it there was that, and then the part that took me aback was the whole discussion over the color of the baby's skin.
Mm.
It's like it's like
But hold on. So I'm say Megan should have not sort of known what she was getting herself into. I think a
that's how
little bit.
yeah.
Yeah, a little bit like
She
one
said
comment.
that's the part
One
I didn't get.
Yeah, one commentator said that, isn't it interesting? Megan has not really hung out with us, but now because of this interview, she's looking for Black support. Like she's
Yeah,
like,
I don't really agree with that. I think that none of us know. We know what they've told us, how the business is, but nobody spilled the beans. You're talking about people who are inside, who, who, it's not like The Crown. It's not. That's just a small fraction of how much your life is controlled. And I think what's more astounding to me is that Harry actually took off some of the veils to explain, as much as obviously never to contradict the Queen and to always keep her in good standing. But I think, you know, Diana tried to tell everybody these are people who Charles's girlfriend, paramour, planned his wedding and selected the girl. There is a subculture that is going on in this whole game. I don't think you could even anticipate the fact that your every move, like you think, oh, okay, I'm marrying into a big celebrity family. But the day you show and they start telling you, you can't say this, you can't say that. And then you realize that once you get a title, it's even more stringent, and that even your child's life, all of it, that I don't think any of us would know until you know, because we're equating it with watching some TV show or this is what the royals do. I think it's even more intense. I think it's even more intense than we can even imagine. I think you're privy to conversations. I think you're privy to it took a lot of bravery for them to walk away from it. I really, really believe that. You're talking about an empire. It's like going, would you know what it would be like to be, you know, the daughter-in-law of Julius Caesar? I mean, it's like, this is an empire. And I think that, you know, for me, I thought that Harry, maybe for many, many years before he even met Meghan, was rebelling on a certain level to just have some kind of normalcy, something, you know, he was always sort of the wild card. And I think he's been searching, because I don't think he's been very happy in that anyway, completely. Yeah. And I think she offered that out to him. He tried to date the little princesses that were agreed upon in their peerage circles and everything, but he stepped out of the box. And, you know, it's kind of like, I get it. This is, you know, I don't know what happened, but all I know is he had his own personal come to Jesus moment. And I think if she felt suicidal, yeah, the press is relentless, and we only see just a little bit of it, but living there every day when they go after people, they go after it. That's Rupert Murdoch. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So Chris is saying here, and on the flip side, have you seen, and seen is in capital letters, the Royals this weekend, and
I
in the
know.
media, a few, including William, of all of a sudden being photographed with black people. Truly pathetic. This
It
epidemic of
was.
high dysfunction.
Yeah.
Hashtag some of my best friends are.
Well, I got this when they were talking about the part about, you know, the conversation when it came up about how dark the baby would be, that the baby wouldn't have protection, that the baby would not be considered a prince, all of that stuff. First of all, there's no doubt that all of that was because the baby was going to be um, of African ancestry. But when he wouldn't mention who the conversation was, I realized at that moment that that conversation could have only been with one of two people, either his father or his brother. And I leaned more towards his brother because he and his brother used to be very, very close. And you can see now there's some distance between him and his brother. And especially when there was a question asked about how often he and his brother converse in another interview with William, and William was like, they don't talk that often. And I was like, something, that just kind of clicked in my head. I think that William is more of his father's son, whereas at one point he used to have that thing of his mother in him, but he's accepted the royal, and the royal, everything that comes with being a royal, and he's just accepted it. And Harry is his mother's son, and it never really fit him. He never fit into that box. And that marrying Meghan, meeting Meghan, and marrying Meghan is what she doesn't make him fit into that box either. And I think that is one of those things that when you see the two of them together and they're talking and they're having this conversation, you see that they connect because the whole royal thing is outside of them. They're not in that bubble.
Okay.
That's what I got from that interview more than
All right.
anything. That
So
they exist outside of that bubble as a couple.
So Bertie Lynn is saying nothing surprised me anymore. This is a level of peace that comes with this at least. And Chris is
Yeah.
saying, yes, Aisha.
But
Last comments on this one for Jill.
But let's not forget, there was an era, like my mom and my stepfather, I know they attended a dinner or something with where Prince Charles was and whatever years back. But what's interesting is in those days, I mean, don't forget Shirley Bassey, before she got with David Frost, I think she went out with Charles. And so, but there were women that you marry and women that you date. I mean, Charles was a mega playboy and he got around. But as Prince Philip, it's been noted, had kind of said, I don't know if it's true, that there are women that you marry and then there are women that you keep as on the side. I think that a lot of people, I personally believe that it was Camilla who said something about the color of the skin, and that and that caused the friction where Harry went, screw you and your wife. Your wife has been nothing but a stir the whole time. I mean, that was my gut that kind of came, but obviously I don't know. But it's definitely in that realm. And the reason I know that Meghan had said that Kate was lovely. I think that what we're dealing with is Kate couldn't have ever said anything because her courtiers and all of her people won't let them. That's the whole thing. It's like they have a permanent gag order. Like today, Charlie Hebdo came out with this article with a satirical picture showing the Queen with her neck on Meghan, like as if she was George Floyd. And people have been upset saying, oh my God, they're making fun of George Floyd. Well, Charlie Hebdo is not making fun of George Floyd. They're making a comparison about colonialism and the oppression, and that the Queen is the root of it. and her family and their legacy. That's, some people miss the point entirely, which is kind of crazy, but we have to understand that, remember my cousin and I had been talking about, she was upset about the, when Harry wore the Nazi uniform and what does that mean? And, he apologized, but maybe he'll apologize even more and explain what that was all about, because I always thought he was doing it to bring mockery to his family, like what he did in Las Vegas. There was a phase where he did as much as he could to embarrass the hell out of that family while we were living in London. And it was on Guy Fawkes Day. It was like around Halloween. And you come up, and my thoughts on Halloween, I will be sure, it is the most macabre day, right? Aren't you supposed to come up with wearing the most heinous thing? And if we go into cultural appropriation, I hope my pictures as a 5-year-old gypsy girl doesn't ever come out, because I wasn't trying to be culturally appropriating. I just wore it because I wanted to look like a Disney person. But we have to evolve. If we see that this white man has found some comfort with, what? And I just keep wondering what her mother's thinking. Her mother is the solid rock. It's been revealed clearly that Meghan's father was not all the story that the palace created. I would almost beg to say he was a jerk to live with, even as her mother. And but remember her mother sitting there by herself at the wedding. They didn't even have anybody around her. She didn't have a friend come with her. I mean, I think they were getting dogged, and I think that that just spiritually, this is something that has to change. And I think Diana's probably very happy about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, I don't think that story is going to end for a while, because I'm sure the British tabloids are going to make sure that it keeps on going on. And I know that I was reading some stuff today online that the approval rating of Harry and of Meghan and her husband of going down in England. Of course, people don't think the royal family could ever be wrong, but
Of course.
that's another conversation topic. Let's move on. City of Minneapolis reaches $27 million settlement with George Floyd's family. And I'd like to say thank you for everyone who's watching live. Out of bounds, so many people watching live. Thank you so much. Please put your comments in. Ladies would love to hear them, see them, and respond to them. $27 million for George Floyd's family. Good thing, bad thing?
I would have gone for more. No.
Yeah, you can't put a price on somebody's life.
The agony that goes with dealing with lawsuits. And I know that they probably wanted to get this out of the way before the trial starts, and just make a move and let's just get this part done, because it would just reflect on, they're just trying to cash in or whatever. It's very important to be able to be on a clean slate and move forward with the trial to get the killers prosecuted. So I think it was, I'm sure it was difficult for them to make this horrible decision, because it's money that, if you could have your loved one back, they wouldn't want the money.
Right. Yeah, but this also helps the prosecution on one hand too, because the city is by making the settlement, it's an admission of guilt. It is civil. It is a civil settlement, but it's also an admission of guilt. It's saying that it is our responsibility. One of our civil servants took your loved one's life.
Right. Although I believe the girl who got the Caucasian woman who got shot by the police officer got more money. The one who ran out in the street when the police were called, I think her family got $100 million. So, and I don't quote me on that, but I think if you look it up, so that is something that we go, wow. And I don't want to get too rooted in that, but that's a sad reality. I think the family could have pushed it harder, because it took her case to settle for a very long time, well over a year. But the family just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and that police officer, by the way, was found guilty and put in jail. So let's see if we get the same result for less money. And, I don't know. I'm not holding my breath, because if I do, I don't know, y'all.
Mm-hmm. Black Beauty has a question. Do you think this jury will be fair?
Yes, I've been following the jurors that they picked, the questions that they've been asking of them, and how they've been answering. Reading the articles, like they had one juror that they picked, both sides agreed on this juror, and the juror, one of the some of the questions they asked the juror was very sympathetic toward George Floyd and what happened, and very adamant about it. And then on one hand, he said, you know, let's not make judgments until we see everything in the case. But all of his social media and everything was very sympathetic toward George Floyd, and they knew that, and he was selected for the jury. So I think that and they found a lot of jurors that they found seem to fit that kind of spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the jury will be fair.
It's not the juror that we have to worry about. It's not the jurors. It's the judge.
It's the judge.
It's the
yeah.
judge. And
What the
knowing
judge will
how
allow.
Minnesota is, the way they deal with custodian type of things, or in Prince's account, the legacy, and how what's the thing where Britney Spears is under a guardianship, when they're totally corrupt on that in Minnesota. And it's the judge. See, the problem is it's the judge and the sentencing and what they allow of evidence to come in, or what they allow the prosecution to bring in. So everybody's got it wrong. I think that people, if you show them this isn't like we're down in, 1952 down in Alabama, and everybody's sitting on there, let's just say they're innocent. This isn't that. This is a systemic racism. They are already in place, these people with their wings on, their white wings. And don't forget, the guy who was in charge of the police there was Trump's right-hand man, best friends. All of them, birds of a feather. So it didn't change that much since, in 1 year, y'all. So it's the judge. It is the judge that will determine what the jurors get to see, what they get to hear, and what they get to convict on, and the conviction, all of that. And that's a problem for me.
Okay. All right. So as the trial goes on, we'll certainly be keeping track on that.
And remember, that won't be the only trial in this case, because there were 3 other police officers.
Yes, 3 other
there.
officers.
So there will be there will be more.
Yeah.
So Chris is saying the settlement is great. However, that cop needs to be tried and hopefully convicted. Real Django is saying, don't hold your breath, Jill. I don't want to see you passing out on the
So true.
Oh my goodness. All right. Let's go to 1 year later. And Breonna Taylor's name has come up in our conversation, but I think we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into this. 1 year later, Breonna Taylor's mother and advocates still want accountability for the police who killed her.
Yeah. This is hard. This is really, really hard, because it's so painful. It is so painful to think that she went to bed, and that's all she did. She went to bed, and she was just expecting to wake up the next morning.
Right.
And no knock warrant that they weren't supposed to even serve. And they killed her. But the only thing that they're charged for is the neighbor, is for the bullet entering the neighbor.
Right.
Not for entering the neighbor's apartment, not for killing her.
Right.
in the middle of a no-knock warrant they weren't supposed to serve. The person that they were looking for, they already had in custody. And then they charged the boyfriend, who he finally was
Yeah, he
just,
just
they finally just released
yes,
those charges, what,
yes,
Right.
2 days ago?
Yeah, they
right.
looked for everything. They like, they did everything to try to find something to pin on him to shape their story.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
so,
unfortunate because for me, as I said before with the Cuomo thing, until this is resolved, I think it's time we stop giving our attention to some of the other stuff, just as Black people. Like, I really do. Like, I don't care. I'm going to vote for Cuomo. I don't care. Because for me, this is a national tragedy. And you're right. She went to bed this year, this time last year, the 13th, she was murdered. And it's okay. They think what, a little bit of money is enough? No, this is wrong. This is not
mhm,
acceptable. And until they start changing with this whole policing nonsense, because there have been others killed since her. So let's just cut to the chase. Let's just cut to the quick. I am not going to give my time and attention to their nonsense and me tooing me, because we have her, Elijah. Um, there's so many people that if I spend 40 hours a week trying to seek justice for, there's not even enough hours in the day anymore. They have ignored it. They go on and hope that we forget. And then we sit here, suck it up, and deal with it every single week. Hundreds of us need to be on them every day. It's just a text. Put one in your Google, send it out every day, religiously, every day. Just boom, 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 because this is too much. And we have to go and vote these people back in. No,
yeah.
fix this, you'll get my vote. I don't give any money right now to the Democratic Party. I will now after seeing a result, but when my leaders are doing stuff, I'm like, no, you won't get my damn money, because I gave you money when I didn't have it over COVID, and you're going to front like this. Oh, and that goes for anybody, any of
Yeah.
them. No way. We got to you know, pull out our stops too. This is wrong.
Yeah.
Her mother they need justice.
Yeah.
They just need justice. And nobody quit, nobody got fired. I mean, seriously, what the heck?
And the saddest part about it is that as soon as she was killed, the first thing that people had to do was counter the lies that, oh, she was a drug dealer, she was a
Yeah.
drug addict, and this the justification as to why they killed her. They had it was this, and you can't say this didn't come from the police themselves putting this out there in social media, that there was justification as to why they shot her and killed her. There was
Right.
no justification for it. But you go, and every time you turn around, you've got these crazy MAGA people saying, well, Breonna Taylor was a drug addict, or she was dating a drug dealer. This is why she was killed. There was no
Mm.
justification for killing her. There's
No.
no there's no justifying murder.
Right.
There is no justifying murder. And the only justification you can come up with is because she was a Black woman, and that is reason enough to kill her, then there is something wrong with you. And that thing that's wrong with you is that you are a freaking racist. Period.
And
Full stop.
also, you just are a very inhumane human being, which, in the eyes of anything in spirit, you have a lot of that it's just disgusting. We can't move forward with this type of thinking. People need to be, there has to be some kind of accountability, but as long as DC fails to enforce the rules, the laws that we do have in place for some of these politicians, this will always go on. This is
Yeah.
just a big scam. And these areas and parts of everybody getting paid off, it only reflects poorly on
Right.
us as a nation.
Right. And let's be honest. Kentucky's not going to do. They've already shown us in the last 12 months, they're not going to do anything on this. This is now going to fall on Merrick Garland.
It should,
And the
because,
people,
he might be the one to make some sense of this and be like, okay, this was wrong, straight
Yeah.
up. Let's just deal with this. And they're still going to kick and scream doing it. But you know what? I don't care. Kick and scream.
yeah,
I want to drag them
and the
as
people are
much
going
as
to
we
have to.
can.
The people are going to have to go to Merrick Garland and say, Merrick, you got to do something about this. DOJ has to do something about this. DOJ needs to take over the investigation because the person in charge, the AG in charge,
When they
can't
dig
do
into
this
him,
job. They can't do his job because remember what he did. Remember before he did not. The jurors in that case. Remember the jurors said
right,
that he did not prosecute the case. He
right,
presented them evidence that would acquit.
right. But
He
see, this is the
presented them
problem that
evidence.
we have. This is the problem that we have. We are basically looking for Merrick Garland to get to the bottom of every single red state's corruption and maybe
Yep.
some of the blue. But really, you're talking about a spider web. You're talking about a mafia of people. This country is being ran by a white supremacist mafia, and they've been in place for ages.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Especially in the court system.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's where they are.
So what we have here, Rio Dango saying Breonna Taylor was as innocent of a victim that there could be, sleeping in bed, and their court system can only see a problem with bullets going to another apartment. Really?
Right.
And then
Right.
he also says, and ladies and gentlemen, this is why we kneel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why we kneel. So as we come to our last conversation piece, and for those who have been watching us for a little while, or you just, if it's brand new, we always end off with, we call it the cockroach of the week.
Mm-hmm.
So this week's cockroach, the ladies have decided, is a lady named Lara Trump.
Yes.
So if people are going, why is she related to someone? Yes, she is.
The cockroach family.
Yep. Exactly. Whole family of them.
And why are they nominating her? Well, this is why, folks. Ms. Trump, and this is the story we have here. She's linked dog rescue charity spent $2 million on properties. The Florida-based Big Dog Ranch has spent as much as almost $2 million fundraising costs for events at Mar-a-Lago. So this charity that was supposedly set up for dog rescue, somehow the funds got diverted to $2 million of a certain family's property.
Mm.
Yeah.
What we say about the cockroach?
They're disgusting people. They're disgusting. I mean, her face says it all. I mean, these people start to become everything they are. She's as fake as those eyelashes she has on. I'm going to just be straight up as an advocate for animals and as an activist. I try to do my best and try to, for people in general. To me, this is the most despicable. This is so disgusting. Now, they might lose a few people on this one because, folks may not care about other people, but they do tend to, we do have people who don't like to see animal
Jill,
suffering.
why am I feeling Jill is getting ready to just unleash something here?
Just wait. I'm telling you, this story could have legs if people tell us about those animals that they had in their charity. Whatever thing they published about them, what's the fate of those dogs? What happened to them? Where are they? How many were they? Once you start to make those dogs real, this story could destroy her. At least she won't be running in North Carolina. If we find out that those dogs all got sent to the pound and got put down, let me tell you something. Let's see what this story unfolds, because Trump's the gift that keeps on giving his crimes.
Well, you know what? If your dog charity is doing wrong, I am the person to come to. Um,
Oh, I
to
know what.
Something's
to
coming here. Something's coming here.
to
Something's coming here.
to out you and
Yeah, she's done it before with
call
people
a
because,
thing because I don't like that, and
right.
I don't like people spending their money on faulty charities. So here's what I have to say about it. Um, Lara Trump is trash.
Yeah.
And if you're going to take money from an animal charity, why are you going to put it where it's supposed to go? It's supposed to go to the charities. It's supposed to go to help the animals. It's
Hmm.
supposed to go to help the dog, help the little puppies, find homes, find, rescue them. You don't put them down.
No.
Okay, you if she started puppy mills, people. Let me tell you something. I'll tell you something else. White people
Yes, I
will
do.
love. They will love an animal before they love a
Love
brown or
any.
black person,
That is so
and
true.
or their fellow white people. And if you are
Mhm.
messing with their puppy, they will come after you.
True.
Okay, and she's taking the money that they are donating to their precious puppies and putting it in Trump properties. Oh no.
I mean, they didn't care that Laura Trump's husband stole from the cancer. I thought that was enough for
No,
the kids for cancer.
no, but you
But
take from the
puppies,
puppies,
she's right.
mm, mm-mm.
Because
They will not have it.
they
They
won't.
will
That's
not
why I
have
said
it.
this could topple badly. They better start, because here's the funny thing about, I have a thing that I think philanthropy in general, like at the World Economic Forum, I forget who was giving the speech. Um, all the time. I forget his name. I wish I could remember. The philanthropy scam that they're all doing, all the billionaires, it's
Yeah.
time to like chill out because they've really made a meal of it. And if you look at the way most of these philanthropers are structured, it's just for them to keep making money. Can they just give and be quiet? Do I need to hear that you gave or you're having a big dinner and we're all going to go and spend $150,000? Keep your mouths shut. Give and shut your mouth.
Exactly.
Because the days of like, we're having a big to do for the puppies, and then we're going to have, meanwhile, the family's like Cruella de Vil. It's like, give me a break. For all we know, one of her coats that she wore on the campaign was a bunch of puppies.
Yep. If I see her in a new fur coat, I'm gonna tell you.
Well, we know they like hunting. So this is the family that goes out and hunts elephants and pays hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to sanctuaries in Africa to kill whatever animals. And they have the audacity to run a charity. The IRS should just be knocked all the way through their walls. They should, at this point,
And
come
where are they
on.
getting these
I would
puppies
be like,
from?
this don't make no sense. We need to check this out. Right? Come on, y'all.
And where are they getting these puppies from? Puerto Rico?
Exactly. Right.
La
That was a little
Cucaracha.
gag.
Real Django saying La Cucaracha. And Chris Langford is saying, oh Lord, Laura Trump, cockroach is so befitting.
She's awful. She's awful.
And then Real Dango saying staggers with daggers.
Yeah.
Well, folks, another epic conversation called Staggers State of Things has ended. And we got to thank the audience tonight. We haven't had numbers like this I don't think we ever have. Like the
Really?
numbers were amazing tonight. We
For a
thank
Saturday.
everybody.
Oh my
For a
gosh.
Saturday night.
Thank you.
That is, we thank you for every time coming on, watching us live, watching on the replay, listening on the replay. It is so appreciated and not taken for granted. So keep it coming, folks. We're here for you. I got to look up when our next anniversary is. I got to check out when we have our anniversary, because I think probably later on in the year, but I'm going to do some research and find out when we have is it third anniversary now? I think it's like 3 years.
It would be third.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's June.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, we're gonna research, and definitely, folks. Maybe if you behave yourselves, we'll have you come on live with them. But you know what? You're always willing. We always want you to come on live. If you're willing to come on live and hang out with them for a show like Real Django, I think Chris is already looking like he should be. Chris is saying, "Here we go." You know, Dr. Vibe, Aisha, and Jill, thank you. You are all terrific. Blessings.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. And Real Django, definitely. But
Django.
Again, if anybody would like to come on and hang out for a show, we would absolutely love that. We would find it fantastic. But let's get to it. Final things. As always, the ladies are going to give their contact information. I don't know if it's always good, but they're going to give their contact information. And first up, we've got Jill Jones.
I'm at Jill D. Jones at Twitter. And then I'm on Facebook, like Jill Jones Music, and Instagram, same name, Jill Jones Music. Hope to see you there.
All right. Aisha K.
It's best to find me at Twitter at Aisha Staggers Twitter.
Excellent. Myself, I am Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Podcast News and 2018 Innovation Award recipient given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also host of the only online show that is for fathers and dads that is sponsored by Doveman Care, the only one in the world. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And also, I am the chairman of the board, of an organization called the Global Food and Drink Initiative, whose purpose as a multimedia nonprofit is to spotlight Blacks in the diaspora that are doing great things in food, wine, and travel. And again, if you want to touch base with me, best place is the website, thedrvibeshow.com. So if you're watching this live on the replay, you've seen our contact information, or if you're listening on the replay, you've heard it. As always, at the end of conversations, I'd love to say this. Oh, you know what? I gotta thank everybody. I can't go without that. So, Chris, Real Django, we've got Black Beauty, Birdie Lynn, Ryan Singh jumped in for a little bit from Toronto, and others. If I don't call out your name, it's because my head, not my heart. As always, I like to say, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Remember, love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourself grace, and God bless. Peace to you all. Keep the faith. And I'll make sure that these ladies don't spend so much time away, because obviously you want them. Take care, folks. Be safe.